If you follow me, it's probably because of my 124 or probably my 210. However, I do not daily these cars, so contrary to popular belief, they are garage queens, but the 210 was a daily. So after I had it painted, I was looking to retire it from daily duty, and the vehicle that let me accomplish that is my 2003 Ford F150. If you follow me for the Benz content, do not worry, this is not going to be replacing it at all. This is just in addition to, so don't worry, the channel will still mostly be about these cars. So why did I want to retire the W210? Well, obviously with it being painted, it's a little bit too nice to drive every single day. Otherwise the front end will be all chipped up. I've driven a truck since 2017, so that's about 5 years now. And I've been rear-ended about twice. So any of those instances with the W210 or the 124, it was from the back. So at minimum, the bumper would have been destroyed, but probably the entire metal, like the frame, would be bent beyond repair. So that is one of the reasons why. But another reason is if you live in California, we have something great, not really, called the carpool lane. So this truck in particular is completely running on compressed natural gas. So that means it's a low emissions vehicle. And in California, that means we get carpool stickers. So this truck qualifies to go in the carpool lane solo. I don't know if you've ever driven in California, but if you've gone in heavy traffic, usually the carpool lane moves a little bit quicker than the other lanes. So this could add up to significant time savings depending on the day, but in my experience, it's been great to have. It saved me quite a bit of time on the freeway. So this is actually my second Ford F-150. The first one was a 2004 Heritage model, so it looked just like this truck, except it was 04 model year, so it came factory with the amber corners. I swapped them out into this one, and it had it looked exactly the same, but it was from the city of LADWP, so it had the spotlight and the strobe. So this one's from Arizona. I picked this up in 2019 with 65,000 miles. This is the lowest mileage vehicle I have, with the 210 almost at 200,000 and the 124 being at 127. So this is the daily. And you might be asking yourself, why would I choose to drive this over a Benz? Well, like I said, the carpool lane is pretty significant. It does not ride as nice as a Mercedes, I will give you that. But it's just something that, you know, it's a beater. So, I mean, this damage did not happen under my ownership, but I mean, it's already kind of beat up. So this truck was not the one that got rear-ended as my other one, but I'll insert some pictures. But the damage on the other one when it got hit was just probably about a quarter-sized dent in the rear bumper. So, like I said, in the Mercedes, it would totally destroy them. So another great reason to get this truck was the bed space. So I could move parts around really easily. Otherwise, I'd have to borrow my mom's SUV sometimes, or I had to ask a friend to help me move stuff. But with this, I can move it on my own. So with it being the 8-foot bed, there's a significant amount of room in there. Unfortunately, there is a tank, so it does take up some space, but it's still better than what most vehicles have. And these cars, well, basically they're just a sedan and a cabriolet, so there's really not much space. So this allows me to move like wheels, no problem, body kits, bumpers, engines even. I moved it all. So this truck has been really handy to have. Of course, the downside being when people know you have a truck, they always ask if you can help them move stuff. So that is definitely a big drawback to having a truck. Just like the character Mark in Parks and Recreation, he also had a 10th generation F-150 like this. He expressed the same feelings as having a truck is kind of a drawback because people will always ask if you can help move stuff. So that is definitely true. Since I bought this truck, I really haven't done much to it. When I got it, I got all the way from Arizona. So I drove out there with my dad. We picked up the truck and drove it all the way back. And in hindsight, that was probably bad because all 4 tires were dry rotted. The front 2 were uneven. Every single tire on this truck was mixed matched, and they were old, and the front 2 were completely bald. And who knows what the air pressure was. We didn't even check them. We just drove it straight back. But we got it back, and it had a vacuum leak, so it had a really rough idle. So fixed that, smogged it, registered it, and then first thing we did was tires. So normally I am a big fan of Michelin tires. However, I found these Firestone Transforce, which are OEM tires for this specific truck, for a stupid good deal. I think it was like around $300 or even $250 for all 4, and they were brand new. So we have these on for now, but I would like to replace them with Michelins if I keep this truck long enough. And then about a year afterwards, I really haven't done much to this truck. I put on my favorite brake pads, Akibonos. Actually, in the front, we have the Akibonos because these are the same calipers as a Lightning. And in the rear, we have the centric ceramics because they did not make the Akebono application. And the best thing about Akebono is that I do run them on both my other cars, so it's cool that the cars are matched, but they're very low brake dust. The wheels stay cleaner longer. Not like these wheels are super nice, but it's just nice not having them being black with brake dust. And they still stop just fine too. And pretty much other than that, there have been no other things that have ever come up. Like, this thing is pretty reliable. I just change oil every 5,000 miles. And I should do all the other fluids too. I've done the brake fluid, but eventually I'll maintain this truck a little bit better. But let's talk about the stuff I've done to it. So I've swapped out the corner lights for ambers just because I prefer the look. All the lights on this truck, exterior wise, all of this is LED. And I have LED interior lights. Oh, and if you hear that clicking, I did damage either the turn signal stock or the hazard switch. This truck had an issue where the check engine light wouldn't come on, and I tried to repair it, and I destroyed one of those modules, so that's why it's always clicking. Driver's side seats ripped. Yeah, so this truck is definitely not the nicest thing in the world, and it has some really cheap tint on it. It's like the DIY tint you buy at the auto store. It's peeling off. But all those things don't really bother me. This is a great daily beater, and it's super reliable, which is why I like it. And the carpool sticker, which is the best reason, in my opinion, to get this specific truck, the CNG. So with CNG, it is a little bit more difficult to find places to fill it up, but it is cheaper. It is about $2.99 where I fill up versus gas which is about $6.50 now almost. So it is almost half the cost to fill this thing up. It's cheaper to drive this car daily than the Mercedes if you factor in fuel costs alone. And in case you wondered, this is what the fuel nozzle looks like. It is not a fuel tank, so it is pressurized at 3,600 PSI. And yeah, it's pretty difficult to find places to fill it up, but they do exist. There's, I think, at least one in every city. All right, let's turn on the lights and let me show you the LEDs. All right, so the rear, these are all LEDs. Which might be hard to see, but you can kind of see the diodes in there. I had both license plate lights, LEDs, but this one got damaged, so it doesn't work. Reverse lights are LED too. You see, they'll be nice and bright. So here are the reverse lights. They are really bright and they're white. So I have the same LED mod on the Mercedes. So this is really good at night where it illuminates the rear of your vehicle much better. That is something I love doing on pretty much every car. Now if we check out the front, these are all LEDs as well. So I opted to go with warm whites in the main headlight, and this is the correct beam pattern as well. It's not the 360 that blinds everybody. So this just makes it look a little bit more like factory, but it's much brighter. So I did that just to kind of stay more under the radar because, well, it's kind of crazy. Like, I drive this truck a little bit more aggressively than the Mercedes and I get in less trouble, which makes no sense to me. But I mean, it just looks like, well, no one really gives this truck a second look, which is the best part about it. And of course, I swapped out the flasher relay so we don't get hyper flash. So all the turn signals work as they should. And one thing that's kind of worse on this truck is that the turn signal is just part of the brake light. So they do make Euro taillights for this truck, which I really do want to do. It would add a amber turn signal to right above here. But unfortunately, the cost of those taillights are rather expensive. So I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. So I haven't really done a whole lot to this truck. I mean, it was missing a spare tire, so I bought one and pretty much just kept maintaining it. So here's the engine, also running an LED light in here. And I replaced this, which is missing. So just oil changes, new battery, just the basics. Yeah, new shocks for the hood. So this is the 5.4 liter Triton V8. This is the CNG version, so it has a little bit less horsepower. The transmission is the 4R100, so it is the heavy duty transmission. And it is the 373 rear diff. And it is an open diff. This is not the LSD. We checked that with the VIN. It's the 7700 package. So this is the early F250 light duty. So it has 7 lugs, which is kind of odd. There's only 2 trucks that Ford made with this lug pattern. Is this one, and I believe the 11th or 12th generation they did do this again. So there's another wheel option out there. All right, so when I got my first truck, which looked just like this, I had a butterfly door bed cover, which I'll insert some pictures here, but I ran that until last week, so it was pretty cool, but someone broke one of the locks, so only one side opened up. So I was running the butterfly bed cover for pretty much until last week. So I picked this camper shell up. So this is for a 10th gen F150 8-foot bed. However, it is for the extended cab. So this gap right here is not quite perfect because the angle of the cab is slightly different. But I mean, for $100, I'm not gonna complain. So today we're gonna be kind of making this a little bit nicer. So let's see what's wrong with it. I don't have any keys for the lock, so I can't lock it. So I got some new locks there. These shocks are done. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that I did add the damper for the tailgate. So here we are. I did order some more mounting hardware, so those C-clamps will go. It's a little dirty, so we'll clean it up. And that latch on that window is broken, so hopefully we'll replace that. I ordered one. And we'll just clean up, wire in the brake light, replace these shocks. And oh, I forgot to mention that my friend was gracious enough to help me get this bed liner sprayed on, so that was really cool. So that's the project for today. We're gonna make this a little bit nicer. One thing I did forget to mention is that I did paint the front and rear bumpers and grills with some spray paint from Home Depot. So it's actually held up pretty good over the years. Just some minor chips. And here is the back bumper. Originally these were gray, so I think this kind of makes the truck look a little bit better too. They were kind of similar in color to these bed rails. Another thing too is I reverse leveled it, so from the factory the rear was higher than the front, and I don't like that, so we put a lowering shackle in the rear to match it with the front, so now it's leveled. And that's what reverse level is when you lower the rear instead of raising the front. So because it's two-wheel drive, there's not really many good options to retain good suspension geometry up front. So that's why I decided to lower the rear. It's also a lot easier and cheaper. That shackle was less than 50 bucks. All right, so first thing I'm replacing are these locks on the topper. As you see, we got one side in. So this was the broken one with no keyhole and no arm. So this is the kit I got. I'll link it in the description if anyone's interested, but it comes with all this stuff. Hardware and the spacers, which I don't need, and the keys. So let's get the old one removed. So we'll see there are just two Phillips screws, and we're going to reuse these washers because this kit did not come with washers, but once those two screws are removed, we got to remove that tongue, so that's also another Phillips screw. This thing will come out. Alright, so it's installed and locked, so we'll see. It's pretty solid. We have the key. Unlock. You can open it. There we go. Alright, next up we need the shocks. Both sides in, so now it goes up really nice. All right, we got the third brake light wired up, so it works. Gonna clean up the inside a bit, so no more spider webs. Any sliding rear windows work. Got new clamps. In case you ever wonder what it's like to fill up a compressed natural gas vehicle. So there's a little introduction to my daily driver 2003 Ford F150. Don't worry, the Benz content will still be there. If there's anything interesting, I'll be filming it on this vehicle as well. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to comment them below. And thank you for watching.